Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Strong Collectors Podcast. This is episode number 5 of our 10-part series looking at the 10 major factions within Mythic Legions. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Sons of the Red Star. Now a lot of these figures are new. This was a part of the most recent wave of pre-orders from Mythic Legions. So just like with most of the other factions, we're going to be ranking some figures that we don't actually have yet, but we're going to be going based off of how cool we think those figures are and our level of anticipation for getting those figures in hand. This episode is again sponsored by Empire Toy Shop. They have kindly donated Flogius the horse as a giveaway to use for these first 5 episodes in the series. So in case you haven't seen the other episodes yet, I'll give you the rules on how to enter the giveaway. First off, you have to be subscribed to the Strong Collectors. And then second, leave a comment down below saying who your number 1 favorite is in the faction. And you can do that for up to 5 entries for 1 comment per video on the bad guy videos. So you can go back to Alithia's Brood and Necronominus, leave your comments there on who your favorite is in those factions, and then that'll get you an entry as well. Only 1 comment entry per video, but up to 5 entries to increase your chances. So make sure you go back, you watch all those, leave your comments and get your entries in, and then we'll get that horse sent out to our winner once the giveaway closes. Now, if you haven't been to Empire Toy Shop, they've got a ton of Mythic Legions. They have other figures as well, Mezcos, Marvel Legends, different things like that. And the cool thing about them is they also offer all-ins. So with 4 Horsemen, you can get your all-in from them. Usually there's a little bit of a discount. And that's the same with Empire Toy Shop. So you can go on there, you can order right now, at least as of the recording of this video. I don't know if they've sold out yet or not, but you can go on there and order your all-in for the Pixus wave. And that'll give you a little bit of a discount on what you would pay if you were buying those figures individually. And for me, I wish I would have gotten the all-in from 4 Horsemen Direct, but I wasn't collecting Mythic Legions at the time. So this is your great opportunity if you're just now getting into Mythic Legions or you have post pre-order for Pixus. That is a great opportunity to get a lot of those figures for a little bit of a discount. Now let's talk Sons of the Red Star. This is a smaller faction, the smallest one we've ranked so far. There's only 12 to rank here. I combined version 2s with their original versions. If there was an all-star version, it's just based off of whatever's the newest release, because for me, those tend to be a little bit cooler. But you know, if you disagree with me, feel free to tell me in the comments. If you think I ranked something completely wrong, feel free to leave a comment and we can discuss it there. But without any further ado, let's get into 12th place of the Sons of the Red Star, and that is Mephitor. Pretty sure I'm saying that right. Not 100% sure, but this is the little skunky goblin guy. This one ranks a little bit lower to me just because I don't have a lot of attachment to Stinkor from Masters of the Universe. This is a tribute figure to that. And then having that orange and black paint scheme just seems a little bit too Halloween-y to me, maybe. I don't know. I understand that it's got to have certain colors to be the tribute figure that it is. I do see that this could be a good figure for maybe your customizations, because I don't think this is a head that we see all too often. I mean, maybe I think it's only on one other figure. Kind of a rare piece there, and it does tend to be a little bit cheaper in the aftermarket, at least right now. This is one that's never going to be remade, so if you do want your Masters of the Universe tribute figures, pick him up now because they're only going to go up in price as time goes on. In 11th place, we have the Dark Templar. Now this one, I think, is a little bit underrated and a little bit overrated at the same time. I don't know. Let me explain. I think that this picture does it a little bit more justice than in hand, but I think in hand, it's a lot better for pop and swaps than you might think originally. It's a little bit more gray than black. Like this picture makes it look very like dark gray, almost black, but in hand, it's much lighter gray. But I think that works out well for doing some pop and swaps. I really like doing a pop and swap with this with Varg, and then making Varg more of the taller bat vampire that he is. I also like to use this as a base body for one of my custom demons. So there are a lot of applications to use it for. Straight out of the package, I don't think it's as good as some other figures, but it is a Legion builder, so it doesn't have a lot of those paint schemes that a named character would have. So it does make sense that he would rank a little bit lower. But I do think this is one that I would recommend having in your collection, just because, like I said, you can use it for other parts, and it is still a cool enough figure to have just straight out of the box without doing any pop and swaps. It's just not as cool as some of these other figures that come super highly detailed. Next up, we have Dpar, and this one has surprised me since they've announced it with how low it ranks for me. Typically, I'm going to like this style of armor. I like the dual wielding with swords, especially with the extra hands. I don't know what it is about the like scorpion bugness to him. I think it's probably that bugness, like the insectoid type of feel that he gives off that makes me like him a little bit less. So I wonder if I could do some pop and swaps with him. I'm sure I could. Now that I'm looking at him, he would be a super easy pop and swap. So maybe he should rank a little higher on my list, but I think this one's going to have to be one that I see when it comes out in hand. And maybe this is one that I'll pick up down the road. Maybe cross my fingers for an Empire Toy Shop mystery box win. In 9th place, we have Umbra. And this is one that I think just ranks higher to me because I don't typically like mounts, but this being a unicorn, I think just kind of made me a little bit more excited for him. I didn't pre-order this guy just because, like I've said before, I don't have a lot of room to display mounts, so I have to be really selective with which ones I choose, but I like the details on it. It definitely looks like this should be Scaphoid's mount because it's kind of got those ornate details to it, and I think being a unicorn just makes it a little bit more rare of a mount, which seems like it fits Scaphoid's personality really well. So not one that I necessarily plan on picking up, but I am excited to see what other unicorns we can get in the future now. Next, I have Lord Viteris. This is one that I actually think I had, but I used to trade for something else. I think now I appreciate it a little bit more than I did at the time. This was kind of early in my Mythic Legion collecting, and I didn't really know the character too well, didn't understand the pop and swaps as much. So I do think, especially now when we have other figures like Sir Andrew coming, it would be cool to display them together and maybe try out some pop and swaps there. I like the color combination of the coppers and the purple. I think that's a cool idea. This kind of helmet I think is really cool. And I don't feel like we see it with the horns too often. I just imagine it more with the fin batwing type of side attachments. Still, this is a cool figure. I like the purple soft good cape as well. I think if this came out today with a version 2, I think this would be a super cool figure, and I would definitely pick that up. In 7th place, probably the most controversial on this list for me. I think a lot of people are going to rank this higher. I think a lot of people are going to have Scapular the Crypt Breaker as their number 1 figure in this faction. For me, I think it's just his deluxeness, and I'm ranking it as the newer version and not the version 1. I think this one is cooler than the version 1, but like I said, my issue with it is the deluxeness. I want him, but I just don't need all of the things that he comes with that pushes his price point up. Now, I totally understand why they would do that because looking at this figure as it is right here is super cool, but then he still comes with that alternate look with the fully soft goods, like red robe. I think you are getting your money's worth here. It's just, it seems like it's going to be a lot of items I get that just end up sitting in my fodder bin. I could probably sell those and then it brings the price back down to a regular figure. Maybe that's what I'll eventually end up doing. But for me, I don't know. I really want to like him, but yeah, the more I look at him, the details on the shoulders, the collar, this is a super cool figure, and I totally understand if you have this ranked higher. In 6th place, I have Keltus. This is another Masters of the Universe tribute figure. Obviously, this one is going for Skeletor. And originally, I didn't care as much about this figure just because I was like, oh, it's a Skeletor figure. I don't care that much about Masters of the Universe. The more and more I see of this guy, I think he fits really well outside of even just trying to be a tribute figure. I think just as a skeleton here, I still think he would fit well within your Mythic Legion figures. You could have him here with the Sons of the Red Star. You could have him put in your Congregation of Necronominus. He looks like he belongs. I like this staff, very Skeletor, but it just makes it a unique staff that we don't see with other figures. Pretty expensive on the aftermarket, but I think he's easy enough to do a custom of if you just paint some blue skeleton parts and then have some purple paint. Not probably the most challenging of the customs to do of a Motu tribute. Still a little outside of my expertise on how to make a figure, so don't know that this one will ever make it into my collection, but I do enjoy seeing it out there when other people post pictures of it. Making it into the top 5 is Pixus, and this one, I really like the skeleton Mercurian type of mix here. We don't really see this any other way. I mean, the Furious 4 comes with kind of a Mercurian skeleton, but it doesn't have this style of helmet. I guess you could swap on the Bushati helmet, but then you don't have any skeleton parts, so you don't know that it's a skeleton under there. Anyway, I like the look of this one. I voted for this in the All-Stars. Didn't win, but I think there's at least somewhat of a chance that this would win again because I think a lot of people do like this one. The weapons that come with it are cool. Definitely looks like it should be fighting in the Colosseum. I really like the blues on this one, and I like how the armor has like a little bit of dirt and stuff on the boots, but still looks very almost shiny and clean, but being dirty and used at the same part. I don't know. I really like this one, and I hopefully will be able to get this one in my collection someday. In fourth place is Gisha the Slitherer. This is another one that I voted for in the All-Stars. I didn't really expect this one to have too much of a chance, but I think this is a cool figure that is very underrated within Mythos, and I think people are starting to realize that that's the case. This is a pretty unique head, and I really like the 2.0 body for this figure because it makes it seem like it's going to be quicker, more agile, and much more of like a assassin type of figure, which is, it fits this faction really well. I think having the spear type weapon with the sword is a cool touch, the smaller purple cape, and just the colors in general, having this like copperish red with the purples and the blues, I think gives this a unique look. And this is very high up on my list of figures that I would like to eventually track down, or even more so, get in an all-star. Into the top 3, we have Yoshinari Kari. As soon as I saw this one, I thought, yes, we are getting Onis or Yukai in Mythos. This is similar to how I feel about the mythical creatures of Praetorian and having different minotaurs within Mythos. I really love the looks of Onis and yokai. So when I saw the armor for Monkey King, which is what this is kind of a base of, I was excited to see this in new figures, and I didn't have to wait too long because now we have this. And this isn't my most anticipated of the wave because we still have 2 more to go, but this is super high on my list, and I'm super pumped to see what other characters we can get within this race that are similar here, because I will be for sure picking up everything that is similar to Yoshinari Kari. Coming in second place is Manisha Cinderhorn. Now, I mentioned that Yoshinari Kari wasn't my most anticipated for the wave. That's because this is. I don't have any Shadow Elves in my collection yet, but this one I'm really excited to get in hand. I like the color of all of the Shadow Elves. This one coming with a little bit more of the soft goods I think is cool. I think the alternate heads are going to be really fun. The armor, this one is, I can't wait to get this one in hand. I don't always love the soft goods, but after opening up some Pixus figures, those soft goods are really nice, so I expect this will be just as good or maybe even better. I also like the boots here. I'm excited to see some of those boots and gloves in Mythos a little bit more. It seems like pirates could be wearing those, and I would like to see some pirates in Mythos before too long. There's a lot of water surrounding the map, so I think that's definitely a possibility. But as far as assassins go, I think this is my favorite. And coming in first place is Sir Gerard. Now, maybe there's some biases here of who this figure is, but even aside from that, I think this is an excellent figure. It's sort of supposed to be that like shape-changing type of character. I usually display him with this skeleton head. You can display him with any head, and it really does fit the character. I think he comes with some of the cooler swords in Mythos, and the fact that he's dual-wielding them just makes even more sense. I also like the red version of the Templar here. So we saw the Dark Templar, it had the white cross. The Order of Etheron has this kind of look with the Templars. So having this almost, I don't want to say evil version of it, but definitely not as nice of a version. And I think there's be a lot of cool upgrades you could give this character with maybe a soft goods cape, different things like that. Still a really good figure for pop and swaps, but really straight out of the box. You don't need to do anything to him. He's ready to go, and definitely my favorite in this faction. Really, this one was pretty easy to put at number 1. Some of the other ones were a little bit harder to organize on where they fell, but this one was a no-brainer for me. And here's a breakdown of how I organized my thoughts for this ranking. So remember, just because something's in the bottom row doesn't mean it's a bad figure. I do want some of those figures, and I have multiple of the Dark Templar, so still good figures, but this is a really good faction, and really there's not a single bad character in this faction, so you can't go wrong with anything here. If you want to do a tiers list like this, I will leave a link down in the description below so you can go and make your own, and then you can post it in the Cabal, tag me. I'd love to see how you did your breakdown, where you ranked these figures. Again, this is another no-miss faction for me. It's one of the smaller factions, so I'm glad that we got to see some new figures added to this in the newest pre-order. Make sure you stick around because next we're going to be taking a look at the good guy factions. But remember, get your entries in to win the Empire Toy Shop giveaway, and I will see you in the next one.